I am Lexie the Hair Diva, and this has been my profile in color. Like I said, I'm on my way to the salon again. Give us a call, 313-341-2575. I have a lovely group of girls and guys there. When I pull up on a daily basis, first of all, on my way, I'm always praying for prosperity. I'm always praying to impact somebody's life positively, whether it's a coworker or whether it's a client. So whenever I come into the building, I always come in with a wonderful, positive attitude. My staff is always welcoming. We're always ready to greet each other. So I love going to work on a daily basis. My assistant, my salon assistant, my administrative assistant, and all my coworkers, like, it's a wonderful experience doing what you love to do and loving on people and impacting people's lives in a positive way. Salon Kinki, we have hairstylists, barbers, we got nail techs, we have lash techs, we have natural hair stylists. There's so many things that go on there. We're so diverse. One of my things in going into Salon Kinki, Detroit was making a comeback at the time, and still is, from all the financial situations, you know, when everybody was losing their jobs at these plants and their homes and stuff. Detroit's just coming back. So I wanted to give opportunity to our people by incorporating commission situations. You have so many great hairstylists that come out of school that was not as fortunate as I was to have a huge following to go into the salon, and they just need a little bit of help. So one of my biggest goals whenever I came out of beauty school and got ready to move to Detroit, I said to my auntie one day, she said, "Why do you want to go to Detroit? It's so far away." And she said, she told me that, and I was like, well, I want to do the Clark sisters' hair, and I want an Oscar for what I do. And she said, "You want what?" I said, "I want an Oscar for what I do." There's a couple of celebrities that I want to work with that I really admired growing up, and I want an Oscar for what I do. I want an Oscar for doing just hair, and that's one of my main goals and one of my main focus. And I'm just crazy enough and just have enough faith to believe that it's going to happen. I was originally born in Wilmington, North Carolina, down near the coast, so I'm a beach bunny. But I grew up there primarily in Riverwood, right outside of Wilmington, very rural area. I grew up in a family of, well, it's actually 4 of us, 3 of us at home. Very humble beginnings, dirt road, bathrooms, no bathrooms in the house, no tubs, sinks, and walls and things like that. But yeah, we had a lot of love and a lot of spiritual guidance with my parents, both my parents being ministers or pastors eventually, but for the most part, they're in Wilmington. Then eventually moving my parents to Sanford, North Carolina, where I actually graduated from high school and completed school there, as well as cosmetology school. After completing cosmetology school, I think it was maybe 3 to 4 years after being out of cosmetology school, I had already completed the Carolina dream, the house, the car, the husband or boyfriend, and the dog for the kid. So at that point, I had 2 salons there in North Carolina within being out of school about 4 years. I started out working at a small salon called Donna's Beauty Salon, and from there I moved on to my very own first salon. I worked in my salon alongside a couple other stylists I had hired in with me. That salon there was relatively small. It was just 3 booths. My sister, my baby sister then was my receptionist and my shampoo assistant. And I kind of felt after the second salon I opened with in a partnership with a young lady that I had went to school with, Barbara Hayes, rest in peace. Great friend of mine, and we decided to open up a second salon. And after opening the second salon, having the car, the house, and all that, the relationship and everything, I was like, it's got to be more to this. And I met some friends in DC, Washington, DC, during Labor Day weekend. And they were like, you should really come to Detroit to visit. And I told them, heck nah, because my mom had told me when I was younger that I couldn't move to Detroit because she had bought a videotape home from the library, and we were so poor we couldn't afford the VCR, but she rented the VCR and she rented the tape, and it was Walter Hawkins and the Clark sisters, and it was somebody else, I can't think of all the other artists, but the Clark sisters stand out in my mind because I was so blown away by their performance and their hair on stage when they were singing, especially Karen when she was shaking her head like this, she was singing. But, and I was like, I want to move to Detroit, and my mom like rebuked me and told me I will not be moving to Detroit, and I will not be doing hair. You will be working in the medical industry. So yeah, but that's the first thing that kind of made me think about doing hair. Kind of watching them, and I said I want to move to Detroit and do their hair one day. Actually, I never had a strong desire to do hair after I was about 8 years old and watching the Clark sisters video, and my mom shooting me out the air with my dreams of moving to Detroit and becoming a hairstylist. I never really thought about it a lot after that. At the age of 13, my mother passed. When I was 18, my father passed, which left me with custody of 2 younger siblings, my sister and my brother. So I knew that I had to do something. I wanted to go to school for nursing. A&T University was my goal, but I could not attend A&T University because I did not have the financial background or backing to help me do that. So a good friend of the family, Miss Bonnie Faye Daniels, she told me one day, she said, I'm taking you over here to this community college and you're gonna enroll in cosmetology. Reluctantly, I went, only because I respected her so much and I dare not tell her no. I enrolled there and I kind of started it just as something to do to keep myself occupied until things got better where I could actually go to college for what it was I wanted to go to college for. Well, in the process of, my teachers kept coming to me saying, did you grow up in a beauty salon? Did your mom do hair? Have you been doing hair at home? And my answer was always no, okay? So I didn't really understand why they were asking me these questions repeatedly all the time. So eventually one of the teachers pulled me to the side and said, you know, we always ask you these questions because it's like everything we show you, you pick it up so fast, it's like you've done it before. Well, that's when it kind of clicked to me like, oh, really? So you're telling me I'm a natural? So yeah, then is when I kind of took things seriously as far as pursuing the cosmetology industry. And not only that, it helped me to, it was a way of going to school and bettering myself, but after school in the evenings and weekends, I can actually be a kitchen beautician, and you know, support my sister and my brother. It helped to make ends meet and pay the water bill, light bill around the house to keep a roof over our head with us not having parents. So I drummed up a lot of clientele because of friends and family, like very quickly. So yeah, I kind of polished my skill in the kitchen, you know, doing hair that way and going to school during the day. And I was actually doing hair for $5 a head. So you can imagine how packed the house always stayed with people wanting to get their hair done. And that was kind of like the beginning of my cosmetology world. After I went through that transition, you know, in my personal life, and I got that call 6 o'clock in the morning from a young lady by the name of Tunisia, God rest her soul. And I went to the interview for Church Girl, and when she was talking to me about the position as a hairstylist and a makeup artist for that play, she began to give me the rundown of who I would be working with. Now, initially I'm thinking like, okay, a stage play, a bunch of, you know, locals, and they're doing a play, it's probably church people doing a play, XYZ. But when she began to tell me, you'll be working with Karen Clark-Sheard, Angela Winbush, Robin Givens, DJ McKinney from the House of Pain, and all these other people. So my clientele base kind of changed after working with the play to more of a celebrity and upscale clientele. I was working a whole lot then with Karen Clark-Sheard from the Clark sisters. She was like one of my best customers and became one of my greatest friends and such a great asset to me in the city of Detroit. I moved from Silver Spoons part-time, which is located in Detroit, to Ferndale. I worked in a salon in Ferndale for where I was the only minority stylist there. And I worked there for about a month, and the owner came to me, well, she called me one day and she said, yeah, I did not know that your clientele was so demanding. I've never seen anybody do hair like you. Like, you have 2 people under the dryer, you will have 2 girls in the white waiting room waiting for you. You have 1 girl that's being shampooed, and you have 1 girl in your chair. I've never seen anybody work like that. And I think that your clientele is too overwhelming for our salon. So I asked her to give me a couple of weeks to find somewhere to go. And she told me she would really appreciate it if I would come back tomorrow and get all my things and go now. However, I ran across a young man there in Ferndale, Michigan, that also owned a salon that he was just opening, Billy. Billy, what is Billy's last name? Billy, Billy, it's gonna come to me. Billy Dye, is that his last name? I can't remember, but Billy, you know who you are. But yeah, Billy was just opening a salon of 18 styling chairs, and he had like 1 stylist in there. I expressed to him that I was not primarily interested in commission work, but I would rather rent a booth. He agreed, even though for just 3 days a week, 2 to 3 days a week, he was charging me like full booth rent of $175 a week. I was willing to do that. Primarily for my clients and the clientele that I had acquired after working with this play. So that they're comfortable and comfortable in their surroundings and comfortable at night going back and forth to their cars and all that good stuff. I paid it, and then I also still working at Silver Spoons in the city through the other part of the week. So I did that for about 4 to 5 years. After that, I was ready to move from Billy's salon, and I moved into a suite in Oak Park. And I was there in that suite now probably 3 or 4 years. And I get a call one day from the young lady that I did her hair almost 10 years ago then, at that time, when I first moved to Detroit. And she says to me, you know, we're just having casual conversation. And she says, Lexie, what are you doing now? And I'm like, well, you know, I'm doing hair, I'm in Oak Park, and, you know, XYZ, all is well. She said, okay, so do you like it? Yeah, it's okay. I said, at the beginning of the year, I'm thinking about looking for another place to work because I think the salon owner here is going to be closing. So I'm going to be looking for another place to go. She says, well, I am ready to get out of this whole hair thing industry, And jokingly, I'm like, okay, yeah, I know what you mean. It can be too much at times. She's like, no, I'm never there. I don't monitor the place correctly. I don't manage it correctly because I'm not into it. I don't want to do it. And this is something that this is a vision that her husband had for her, she says, and she really didn't want to do it as much now that he was no longer with us. She really didn't want to do it. So she proposed to me that, hey, take this salon off my hands, which was Silver Spoons at the time, and now is Salon Kinki, and that's how Salon Kinki actually came into play. So I actually got the opportunity to actually see Salon Kinki actually put together, designed. I actually had the opportunity of having my opinion in the design and layout of Salon Kinki, not even knowing that the universe had already set it up, that one day this is going to be your salon.